Everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And the movie I want to talk about today comes from 1960. This is The Bad Sleep Well, directed by Akira Kurosawa, starring Toshira Mifune. Now, this is one of Kurosawa's contemporary movies, set in modern times. He made several, and some of them did star Toshira Mifune. So if you're used to seeing him as a samurai, there's no samurai here. I know High and Low was recently released by the Criterion Channel in a 4K edition, and of course that's probably the most popular and critically successful of Kurosawa's contemporary movies. I've always, and The Bad Sleep Well, not a forgotten movie for sure, but it's somewhat overlooked, and I think unfairly so. I think this is one of Kurosawa's most interesting film. Artistically, probably not one of his most successful films, but I've seen it half a dozen, well, I've probably seen it more than half a dozen times in my life, and I always get a lot out of it. I always find it very moving. After this film, Kurosawa would, I'm not sure how successful it was in Japan, but Yojimbo and Sanjuro come after The Bad Sleep Well, and then High and Low. And Yojimbo and Sanjuro, very big hits all around the world. But this is set in contemporary times in the corporate world of Japan, and it explores the corruption at the heart of corporate Japan in the post-war era, as they were heavily intertwined with the Yakuza of the time. So they were not just corporations, they were corporations of gangsters, which this film describes in quite vivid detail. So we open in a long 20-minute sequence, a wedding celebration. It's like a wedding reception, very long, 20 minutes. You might be reminded of The Godfather, where it opens also with a very long wedding scene. This has very little life to it, this ceremony, and everybody seems to be on edge. And we're introduced to this ceremony by a gaggle of reporters, and they talk amongst each other. They get us up to date on what's going on, which is arrests will be imminent, investigations to a merger between two companies, and we see this happening at this wedding where both of these corporations, which have just agreed on a very lucrative contract, has involved bribery, kickbacks, illegal bids, and the reporters are expecting somebody to get arrested, and indeed they do. So this, unlike The Godfather, this is a wedding of very uptight people. In fact, the wedding, who's in charge of the wedding, is very funny because he's the one get arrested, and his second in command, who now has to follow, he has no idea what to do. And everybody's sort of discombobulated here at this wedding, especially the wedding cake comes out, but then another wedding cake comes out. And this is in the design of a corporation, and there's a flag up at the 7th floor, which spooks everybody out because a man 5 years earlier, an employee of the company that the bride and groom are associated with, somebody had jumped to his death, pushed to his death, we never really know for sure, and from a 7th floor window under mysterious circumstances. So this further spooks out the people, especially the high-level executives, who know what that means, who know what that flag on the 7th floor means. So this becomes a story of revenge. Somebody is out to get these companies, to expose them, to force arrests due to this suicide from the 7th floor of a corporate building. And this is often seen, Bad Sleep Well is often seen as interesting in its connections to Hamlet. Kurosawa had already made Throne of Blood, which is Shakespeare's Macbeth in samurai days. And this has very very in its revenge plot, and its hero has many echoes of Hamlet. We learn the Toshira Mifune character very early in the movie, who is just married into this corporation and has risen to the executive secretary to the head of this corporation that's been involved in this corruption. We learn that he is the mole inside the company, and he is finding out, and he's seeking revenge in very what he thinks is very intelligent ways. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He just wants them all exposed, and he wants them to go to jail. That's his goal. So he's the Hamlet character. The daughter of the man he's working for, the CEO of the company that he's working for, he marries her. She's sort of the Ophelia character. She is disabled, but and as thought, why would he want to marry? He's only marrying her, because he wants to get even ever deeper into this family to expose the father's corruption. She is a very protective brother, just like Laertes in Hamlet. The Mifune character has a best friend who's helping him in his revenge, very much similar to Horatio. In Hamlet, the friend of Hamlet. And so we learn early on Mifune is the mole, and that the man who jumped out of the window, his death is why he's seeking this revenge. So in Hamlet, Hamlet's father is killed by his uncle, his father's brother. Here it's death by corporation. We learn why this man John impelled to commit suicide on the 7th floor. And the movie becomes very melodramatic, and especially in the second half. I find these scenes fascinating. Then we get a picture of an armaments factory that had never been repaired since the war, so it's a very bleak landscape where some of these events happen, especially at the last part of the movie. And we have a ghost now in Hamlet. It's Hamlet's father, also named Hamlet, the king he's called, who comes back to tell Hamlet about what really happened. So there's no ghost of the father coming back, but one of the employees is being forced. There's two employees being forced to commit suicide. One they thought commits suicide, but he didn't really, and so he comes back as a ghost to drive one of the other employees mad. This is Wada. So this is a film where Mifune is really not always the center of attention here. It's a story about the family, the CEO, his daughter, and his son. He's a good father, and he's a corrupt man, willing to engage in murder if it suits his and his company's benefit. But the supporting players here are amazing. I won't name the names because I can't. No, it won't mean that much to you anyways. But the actor who plays Wada, the man who becomes the ghost, and very familiar if you watch Kurosawa movies, he's magnificent, as is the man who he appears to as a ghost who he thinks is dead and slowly drives him mad. But really, the man who plays the father becomes the father-in-law of the Mifune character. He is one of the great villains in Kurosawa's movies. I think his name was Masaki Mori. He is the bad, and he sleeps well. This is a great title. So there's a lot going on in this movie. It opened in New York City. This was a 60 movie in New York City. It opened in 1961. The studio, Toho, interestingly enough, bought a Midtown Manhattan movie theater, and they called it their tea room theater. You actually could go there, and there would be a tea room that you could visit before you see the movie. I couldn't find any contemporaneous reviews except for Bosley Crowther in the New York Times, and he gave it a very, very positive review. I mean, this is a very interesting film. It's 2.5 hours. Um, I think in some minds, it's seen as a failure. It's too melodramatic. I think one of the criticisms in some of the modern reviews that I've read were that Kurosawa tells us what happened rather than showing us what happened at various points in the film, especially in the climax. I think most people will probably be a little put off by the climax, where we're actually told what was happened rather than seeing it. It's an interesting choice on Kurosawa's part. It doesn't bother me as much. I mean, the first time I saw it, I thought, geez, this is a real letdown, this ending, because of those reasons. But overall, I think The Bad Sleep Well, a very, very bleak film. This is, I mean, a lot of Kurosawa films are bleak. This is one of the most bleakest, especially because it's set in contemporary times where you have the same level. This is not a samurai historical movie, but you have the same level of people vying for power, trying to keep power, and wealth as well. So again, great title. I think it's a very interesting movie. I do recommend it. It is streaming on the Criterion channel. I think it's still available on DVD in the Criterion collection, but it's not been upgraded yet to Blu-ray or 4K like Stray Dog and High and Low has been lately. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who listened. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.